All right, everyone. Rosanna Arquette came out. I guess I'm pronouncing that correctly. It may be wrong. I don't really know anything about this person other than I guess she's well known, like decently well off. Like, is she an actress, activist, politician? Don't know and don't care. I think her tweets are still protected. The other day she came out and said, "Well, I'm white and privileged, and this fills me with shame," or something to that effect. And then she basically locked everything down. People are like, "Oh, it's career suicide time." Yeah, probably. It's like Kathy Griffin. You know, you haven't heard much about her lately. Not that you probably heard much about her before her publicity stunt with the Trump head. So she comes out and says, like, she's white and privileged and she feels ashamed. She feels bad about it. So often, people who are white and well off do this shit. They virtue signal and they're, "I think I speak for all white people when I say I'm sorry for the white past." I'm not. No, I was not born privileged. I was born into poverty. The fact that I have white skin, some people think that gives you some innate privilege. Nah, it doesn't exist. You can think that all you want, but no, bro, it really doesn't. And you're racist if you think that it does, because you're believing lies. There's no such thing as white privilege. I think I called that out 3 fucking years ago at this point. It doesn't exist. Rosanna Arquette is well off. So I guess upper middle class, rich, I don't know exactly. Is she a millionaire or almost a millionaire? Who fucking cares? For you to project upon the average, like, working class white dude who's working on, you know, he's fucking working out on the electric lines or something, a fucking plumber or a carpenter or something, or someone like me who, you know, through their own entrepreneurship managed to sort of make it after having been born and raised in literally poverty. Like, Appalachian white people poverty does exist. Like go to West Virginia sometime, Rosanna, and tell me what you see. A lot of problems, a lot of opiates, and a lot of first cousin shit going on, and a lot of spam tins and Budweiser, basically. I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, but I'm talking about they're blighted communities that happen to be overwhelmingly white. But politicians don't talk about their problems because it's politically incorrect. You're not supposed to admit that there are white people that are poor in the country, I guess, because that somehow is racist or something. It's insensitive towards other people who suffer more because of the color of their skin. Very interesting how these identity politics, how these fucking wedge issues work. I'm not privileged. And if I were, by the way, if I had been born into the upper crust or something, so fucking what? Like, I didn't make some conscious decision, unless Hinduism is real, to be born into the upper crust. So I'm not really responsible. And why are you responsible for what your ancestors did? By the way, positive or negative. Racial nationalists sometimes will be like, well, my ancestors did this race did this and that. Wonderful things. Okay, you didn't personally participate. You need to make your way in the world, be independent, be self-led, be strong and noble, and do something, you know, worthwhile other than shitposting. And then people who are like, well, you should be ashamed because you're white. White people did X, Y, and Z. I'm not ashamed at all about what white people did. What, I'm ashamed that my ancestors fought on the Union side of the Civil War? This makes me racist too or something? I'm sure that they were racialists at the time, because 99% of the population of the U.S. was, whether they had a blue or a gray uniform on. It didn't change that. No, they weren't enslaving anyone. They weren't fighting to allow people to own one another or any stupid shit like that. And if they had, let's say I had Confederate ancestors, again, I didn't fight in the Civil War. And going back further, like the Indian Wars or something like that, who fucking cares, dude? You're talking about centuries ago in most cases. It's very interesting how those past events matter. They don't matter if you're a liberal, like you know, social justice left. You don't want people to talk about the good things that they did, you know, hundreds of years ago, only the bad things. And likewise, if you're like a whitest nationalist, or a black nationalist for that matter, you don't want to focus on the bad, only the good. Why don't you just be honest that there's been good and bad throughout time, good and bad being malleable terms with regards to cultural mores in some cases, and that you weren't personally responsible for the bad, nor were you personally responsible for the good. Because that's the truth. That's really what it boils down to. I find it funny. And if Rosanna Arquette is so ashamed of being, like, privileged, why don't you get rid of all of your money? Give away all of your money and go live in a box under a highway overpass or something. It's as fucking simple as that, dude. That'd be fine. You know, then you know, you're still white, but you're not privileged anymore, so now you can sleep soundly at night in your cardboard box under the overpass, being like some other white people are. You know, develop a meth addiction or something. You know, then you can be like, you know, a million other white people that have been left behind by the government in Appalachia. Yeah, then you'll ameliorate some of your privilege. Or you can become transracial. You can be like Rachel Dolezal and feel black inside. And people will generally regard you that way. And supposedly you'll get treated massively differently if you change races. Or, you know, here's the thing. Why don't you do cultural awareness? Like, you know, the Pope washing people's feet and shit. Why don't you go to the inner city into a 0% white neighborhood and tell people you feel ashamed and you want to, like, you know, help them out or something. Give them money or shit. You know, fucking don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. These people are always, ooh, we need more reparations and stuff. Okay, you be the first to start that. You're the privileged one. You're openly admitting it. Give away your money, however much you're worth. I'm not giving away a fucking cent. Because I worked towards my, you know, status in life. I didn't bilk black people or Hispanic people or anything like that, and I never would. I did that by editing books, making fucking YouTube videos, dude. Privilege. Mo white privilege. Yeah, there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. There's political privilege in the country. Yeah, if you got a lot of money and you can, like, donate a lot of money to political campaigns, or if you're actively in office, or if you're in a position of bureaucratic authority, yes, you have privilege. Money and political and social power on that level, religious power arguably as well, that gives you privilege. You don't get privilege just because you have more or less melanin in your skin. It doesn't fucking happen. Look at the Brazilian sort of racial system. Now I read about this in anthropology, and maybe some Brazilian could tell me this. Is this an antiquated thing to say? Because it could be like from the past and not really be in practice now. I believe in Brazilian culture, it's considered better to be all white or all black and be able to show like a genealogical pedigree of sorts rather than to be mixed in any way. So somebody who had, like, they can show that all 8 of their great-grandparents were purely black, like from actually Africa, would be regarded higher than someone who was 7/8 white or something like that. Like, it's the mixing that, I don't know exactly how it works. Or native ancestry, the Mesoamerican. That's what I heard, anyway, when I was studying anthropology. It could be that that's an outdated cultural mode, or maybe a niche mode that's just sort of semi legalistic or something. It gets difficult because, of course, when you're studying, you know, Brazil from outside Brazil, it's like studying a culture you sort of have to immerse in order to get the real skinny on what's going on. It's sort of like going to the Netherlands a little bit different, being in Europe a little bit different from just studying it from far. What I would say is that to Rosanna Arquette, instead of making a dumb tweet and basically having to platform yourself, why don't you walk the walk and say, okay, well, to take care of my guilt and shame about race and stuff, I'm going to go in and help black people. Like, I'm going to give them money, and I'm going to go in, I'm going to raise money, I'm going to, you know, do some fundraising or something. Do some fucking fundraising for an inner city school and actually uplift someone. Don't just fucking sit there and whine and say, I'm so ashamed. Okay, you're ashamed. You feel guilty. Fucking do something about it. Now, of course, the guilt's not legitimate. I mean, it's been basically fed to you by a bunch of propagandists who want money, like Al Sharpton. But, I mean, if you can't find anything else to do, at least you're uplifting people and doing something positive in the world. Go fucking do some fundraising. Have a you know, $20 a plate dinner, a gala dinner, or a comedy roast or something to help the inner city school of Harlem or something. Or blind kids or orphans or whatever. Why don't you do, you know, to help orphan abused animals or something? Do something positive for a change instead of fucking worrying about what other people are doing. That's about all. Peace out.